little louder, I'm afraid. Well, like I say, this proposal calls for the termination of Project Constellation and the associated rocket systems, the Ares 1 and the heavy lift Ares 5. As a result, if ratified by Congress, our nation could capitulate our position as the world leader in space exploration, as well as forego the technological harvest which has historically accompanied such endeavors. Let me be clear, if Project Constellation is canceled, our nation will not, in the near future, be able to travel beyond low Earth orbit. This is ironic considering the President's and NASA Administrator Bolden's recent statements that the ultimate objective of our space program is Mars. To be fair, the President has spoken of choosing a heavy lift system by 2015. Yet, in a time of greatly diminished financial resources, we cannot afford to throw away the $10 billion our nation has invested in Project Constellation and the Ares systems and then spend billions more to research and develop new heavy lift technologies. This point is especially germane since the other heavy lift technologies contemplated may or may not match the capabilities of solid rocket motors. I believe Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, James Lovell, the commander of Apollo 13, and Eugene Cernan, the commander of Apollo 17, said it best. If we follow the administration's plan, we will have lost the many years required to recreate the equivalent of what will be discarded. This conclusion was echoed by the Independent Aerospace Safety Advisory Panel, which in 2009 stated, to abandon Ares 1 as a baseline vehicle for an alternative without demonstrated capability nor proven superiority or even equivalence is unwise and probably not cost-effective, unquote. In other words, an alternative to Project Constellation will take years of additional time and cost billions of dollars more. Some opponents argue Project Constellation is a troubled endeavor. The truth is quite to the contrary. Just last fall, the world witnessed the launch of the Ares 1X rocket from the Kennedy Space Center in a stunning and successful test. In addition, the heavy lift Ares 5 is designed to leverage the engineering and technologies used in Ares 1. Therefore, one can surmise in the end there will be overall savings using this comprehensive approach versus the piecemeal approach proposed by the administration. Together, the Ares system of rockets provides our nation and our astronauts with the most reliable, most affordable, and safest means of reaching low Earth orbit and beyond. Let me emphasize that point. Ares is the safest system. Nothing else comes close. The 2005 NASA Exploration Systems Architecture Study, of which Administrator Bolden was a member of the study's independent review team, concluded the Ares system is 10 times safer than the current space shuttle. Now, this was reaffirmed by the Aerospace Safety Advisory Panel, which stated, the ability of any current COTS design to close the gap or even provide an equivalent degree of safety is speculative. The panel also concluded, switching from a demonstrated, well-designed, safety-optimized system to one based on nothing more than unsubstantiated claims would seem a poor choice, unquote. Now, this only underscores the administration's proposal relies on utilizing unproven private businesses as the means to transport our astronauts to the International Space Station. It also should be noted many of the companies which are expected to bid for these contracts are startups. These new startups do not have any experience in carrying humans or even cargo into space. In addition, even under these corporations' most optimistic near-term proposals, their systems will not be able to travel beyond low Earth orbit. Some have argued in this difficult fiscal environment, Project Constellation is simply too expensive and should fall victim to the budget acts. Again, this is not the case. The administration's proposed plan actually increases NASA's budget by more than $6 billion over the next 5 fiscal years. In addition, canceling the Ares system and the plans associated with it will cost the taxpayer an additional $2.5 billion because of contractual obligations. On top of these costs, since private businesses have never previously developed a low Earth orbit system to transport humans to the International Space Station, or a heavy lift system to explore deeper into the cosmos, one can naturally hypothesize lengthy delays and expensive cost overruns for this novel venture. It is also not hard to imagine when the inevitable delays and cost overruns occur, these private enterprises will turn to the government with requests for additional funds. Project Constellation should also be seen as an investment in our nation's future economic competitiveness. In fact, studies have shown for every dollar invested in space exploration, $7 has been returned to our economy through the development of new technologies and industries. Congress should also consider the nexus between the Ares system and the ability of our nation to maintain future strategic deterrent programs. Both the Ares rockets and our land-based intercontinental ballistic missile force use solid rocket motors. Our nation will shortly complete the modernization of our ICBM fleet. Now, since the early 1990s, NASA has served as the backbone of the solid rocket motor industry, providing stability to offset the often inconsistent production requirements of the military and commercial sector. Therefore, the termination of Ares would cripple the solid rocket motor industrial base and could push it beyond recovery for this and future generations. Let me just say again, Madam Chairwoman and all of the other senators on this illustrious committee, I just want to thank you for affording me the privilege. I had much more in my original statement, but I just wanted to get some of these ideas across. And I want to thank you very much for affording me this privilege to appear before your very important committee.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Hatch. You know, your support of science is well known within the institution. We've worked